We were the oldest and greatest still-living sapient species in the galaxy, at around 1 billion years of existence. We never found a need to name ourselves, though of course, if you'd ask other members of my species, they would say we were gods or angels for being at the absolute pinnacle of science. I always liked the term gods to describe us, but that's only for lesser beings. We're equals, so you can just call us unities. That name was chosen for us for our almost absolute harmony. We were so different from other species even before we ascended and replaced our flesh with metal. We were not individual creatures, but groups of cells that lived in the bottom of our ocean near vents. We separate and combine to form bigger creatures on a whim, no one having one mind. When we disagree, we would simply fuse, becoming one entity. Even when we became more individualistic, we were still united. Because of our unity and blurriness between individuals, there were never wars, need for trade, or even nations. While there were still outcrops and villages, no one was a leader. When we had little food, we would all go hungry together instead of prioritizing the best. Because of this, we were different from other species, even different from the ones on our planet. Seeing how other species on our planet fought and killed members of their same species, we immediately knew it was our right to conquer this world. Each of our cells can change to different forms on a whim, although extremely advanced systems like fur and feathers only started forming a few centuries later. We destroyed the land, causing the third mass extinction on our planet. We didn't care because it didn't affect use, the superior species, so we simply let it happen. Of course, one rare individual and some mysticism made it so we didn't reach the stars until it was necessary, when almost all life on the planet was used up. We were advanced enough and generally prefer to live in cities on clouds and gas giants where we don't need to touch the ground. Now, we don't really have flesh or cells as our bodies anymore, the form you're seeing now just being temporary for me. We created wormholes and now own a part of the galaxy. We still prefer to keep to ourselves, so we only inhabit new systems out of necessity or amusement. There we played a game the Galactic Council would call cruel. When we find a sapient species, we would test it. We go to a certain religious faction and give their leader prophetic visions. We ask them to go to war and conquer their world. We would even give them bits of our technology, although without any blueprints on how to make more. The goal here is to make a world war, to make a difficult enemy, where the rest of the world would have to unite against to save them all. We wanted to see if other species would be like us and become united. Most of the time we ask our faction to be genocidal maniacs, to make it more threatening, but some others we just let them do whatever they want. We did the latter to a species that evolved a few million years later on our planet after we destroyed it. Sadly, no species had yet to win, the dictatorship always succeeding. We would reward them anyways, but not fully. Not with the intention for the ones that truly won. Speaking of winning, that's where you step in. I wasn't really there for the other games, although I did see the memories from others. I was popular in my village, which was on your planet Saturn. My favorite, by the way. And so, when I suggested doing one of these games on Earth, everyone agreed. You were the most advanced species outside of the council we've met. You guys were on the verge of leaving your planet and going to your neighbor, Mars. While we still could probably do the games when you were interstellar, it was more of a threat when you were all on the same planet, so we were lucky to catch you guys just in time. As I was the one who suggested it, I was the one to give out the first prophecy. I decided to lengthen the game. Instead of going to the highest religious authority, I would send a prophecy to some random, unknown man. That is where things changed. You probably know the history by now, but let's recap for the sake of clarity. This man, for the first few decades, did little more than gain a cult following. We gave a few others from the same country the same vision to unite them. Soon his influence became overwhelming. It was to the point he became the leader of his country. Once he gained political power, we blessed him with our physical power. He took over nation after nation. Because of how easy it would have been, we always disable every time he used nuclear or even hydrogen bombs. We also prevented any spaceships full of people from conquering Mars or their moon. I became interested in you. Very, very interested. I changed my flesh form into a mimicry of you, the one you're seeing now, even identified as a man when I was once genderless. I never liked your guys' ugly faces, so I changed it into something more resembling my true form. When I saw the decades go by and your Fourth World War arose, I knew we had a different species from the others. Where other species would fight and argue, you guys began uniting together to fight this much more powerful foe. I wanted to sit back and let you guys win, but the first guy was begging and praying incredibly hard to win. Then I decided this would not be an easy test. I asked for a sacrifice from him, wondering what he would do to please us. There, he sacrificed 3 million of his own people. I couldn't just not help him after that. I changed the tides, literally, affecting the natural disasters on your planet. Now don't look so skeptical. We simply planted a device in your clouds to change the way your planet interacts with each other. There, what you called the Great Disaster happened. Your country and your allies all got hit by floods, tsunamis, blizzards, hurricanes, hail, mudslides, tornadoes, anything and everything, all in the same year. All the while, your enemy, that man, stayed perfectly safe. After you guys stood through that, I thought this was the end, that you would lose this game, albeit with me cheating a little. As one last goodbye, I changed my form completely into one of yours. Yes, even the ugly face. I had a difficult time with the mouth, so I had to wear a face mask. I wore clothes more resembling your street punks and landed in one of your cities. The war was still ongoing, surprisingly. The man was starting to become insane, where before he simply conquered, his empire started to merely kill without reason. I didn't even give him instructions to do that. Oh, how barbaric you guys are. Anyways, I explored your city. It was similar to how ours used to look in the past, made of concrete and going up into the sky. I only saw this in historical memories, so it was mesmerizing. I met a kid, a crying one. It was so strange how that child took my attention. I walked over to her and asked, "How are you?" She looked up and frowned. I didn't say anything more, just sitting down next to her. We were like that for a couple moments. It was so peaceful and so alien. I looked up at a billboard reporting on the war, just staring. There the girl finally spoke up.
My city was destroyed in the war.
She whispered oh so quietly. If it weren't for my advanced senses, I wouldn't have caught it. Wanting more info, I sighed and nodded. My sibling went and died there. I half lied. While my sibling is probably still alive and never went to war, they've been exiled from our society for differing thoughts. I still miss them. Of course, a loss of a sibling will never compare to the loss of a community, but I tried sympathizing. She frowned and leaned up against me.
It was so scary.
She murmured. Again we sat there.
What is your name?
She asked me, breaking the silence. Now we never really found the need for names in our society. Using our mind link, we all simply know who we were talking about. Well, we didn't even really need words to convey anything. Our minds just perfectly synced. No, not human. Us, humanus. She quirked an eyebrow at me, then giggled.
That's a funny name.
I laughed back, although that wasn't something our species usually can do, so it came out strange. She smiled at me. It was so odd to me to see such joy. Even my people, who have all the luxuries possible, never showed joy like that. I wanted to see more. I said I had to leave, and then when I found a secluded spot, I went back to my true form and flew into the skies. I still observed her, although on the surface of Saturn. It was so fast to me, although it was her entire life. I saw her learn, play, eat, sleep, and soon fight. She fought in the same war that killed her community, and she died in that same war, a war I caused. But of course it's not my fault, really, because your people are just barbarians willing to kill your own people just for some idiot stupid plan, and if it wasn't because of you guys, then... Sorry. I got heated there. I wasn't able to protect her. She was too small for me to do anything. We can change the weather, stop spaceships, and start wars, yet we cannot stop something so minor as a single person's death. But you guys won. Despite everything, your countries all became one, and you guys won. You were the first species ever to win our games. And now, you can have the full reward. All of our technology, all of our history, the ability to live for millions of years and to be sustained by only light. You guys deserve it. You may not be as great or as kind as us, but you did it. Congratulations. Nah, Council Member Jack of the Human Confederation said. Humanus deflated. What?